You learned to read a room before you could read a book. You noticed when voices changed, when moods shifted, when danger was coming before anyone said a word. Adults called you mature. Teachers praised your independence. But no one asked why a child needed to be that alert. Here is what they missed. You were not born strong. You were left unguarded. And your mind built a defense system so quietly, so efficiently, that even you believed it was just who you are. It was not. It was strategy. And Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries before modern psychology gave it a name. Protection was supposed to be invisible. When it disappeared, you learned to become your own fortress. But fortresses do not rest. Right now, you are sitting in a meeting or standing in a conversation, and something shifts. A tone, a silence, a look. Most people miss it. You catch it instantly. Your body tightens. Your mind starts scanning. What did I miss? What is coming? What do I need to prepare for? This is not paranoia. This is the nervous system of a child who was never protected, still running at adult age. You do not panic. You manage. You anticipate. You handle problems before they arrive. People think you are calm under pressure. They have no idea that pressure is your baseline. Now picture this. Someone offers to help you. A colleague, a partner, a friend. They say, "Let me take that. Let me handle it." And something inside you resists. Not because you are rude, not because you do not trust their skill. You resist because accepting help feels like handing someone a weapon. You learned early that relying on others meant risk. So you smile, you thank them, and you do it yourself, again. This pattern plays out in every part of your life. At work, you carry more than your role requires. In relationships, you are the one who holds everything together. At home, you are never truly off. You tell yourself it is responsibility. It is not. It is survival instinct dressed up as competence. The long-term cost is not dramatic. It is slow. You burn out quietly. You isolate while surrounded by people. You achieve goals and feel empty. You want closeness but flinch when someone gets too close. And deep down, in a place you barely let yourself look, you wonder why rest feels wrong. Why stillness makes you nervous. Why being cared for feels uncomfortable. The answer is simple. Your nervous system never learned that safety can exist without effort. Machiavelli spent his life studying power, survival, and human nature. He watched how people adapted under pressure. He understood that protection shapes behavior more than love does. A protected child learns the world has buffers. An unprotected child learns the world has teeth. And once that lesson lands, everything changes. The mind stops expecting rescue. It starts building systems. Machiavelli saw this in rulers, in soldiers, in exiles. The ones who survived were not the kindest. They were the most alert. In this video, you are going to see 5 Machiavellian frameworks that explain why you operate the way you do, and how to recalibrate without losing the strengths you built. This is not about blaming your past. It is about understanding the operating system your childhood installed and upgrading it so you can finally stop running a program designed for a war that ended years ago. Machiavelli believed that fortune could destroy you if you were not prepared. You learned that lesson early. Now you are going to learn what to do when preparation becomes a prison. Number 1. The surveillance state within. The first thing that happens when a child is left unprotected is the birth of hypervigilance. You learn to notice everything: tones, moods, silence, the space between words. Your nervous system built a radar that never shuts off. Adults praised this. They said you were mature for your age. What they meant was you stopped being a child before childhood ended. Machiavelli understood this type of awareness. He wrote that a prince must always be alert, always watching, because enemies reveal themselves through small signs before they strike. The problem is you are no longer a prince at war, but your mind still scans every room like a battlefield. This is what hypervigilance looks like in practice. You walk into a family gathering. Everyone is smiling, but you notice one person is quieter than usual. You notice someone's laugh sounds forced. You notice tension no one else sees. Your mind starts working. What happened before I arrived? What did I miss? Should I say something or stay silent? Most people enter a room and just exist in it. You enter and immediately start managing invisible variables. This is not a superpower. It is exhausting, and it trains you to live in a future that has not happened yet while missing the present moment entirely. Machiavelli said that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But he also understood that constant fear wears the mind down. Hypervigilance is internalized fear. It is your body preparing for harm that may never come. The child version of you needed this skill. It kept you safe when no one else would. The adult version of you no longer needs it at this intensity. But the nervous system does not update automatically. It needs proof. It needs repetition. It needs new data that says the danger is not constant anymore. Here is the shift when you catch yourself scanning a room. Name it. Say to yourself, I am scanning. I learned to do this when I was young. I no longer need to do this at full intensity right now. This is not about pretending the skill does not exist. It is about controlling when you deploy it. Machiavelli was strategic, not reactive. Strategy means choosing when to be alert and when to rest. You cannot rest if you never turn the system off. Start small. Pick one environment that is objectively safe. A quiet room, a trusted friend's home, a moment alone. Practice being there without scanning. It will feel wrong, do it anyway. The nervous system learns through repetition, not logic. Number 2, emotional armor as strategy. The second framework is emotional self-containment. When you were young, you learned that expressing need led nowhere, or worse, it created problems. So you stopped expressing it. You processed emotions internally, alone, silently. As an adult, this looks like strength. People see someone who does not complain, does not ask for much, does not create drama. But inside, it feels like isolation. Even when you are surrounded by people, part of you is unreachable. This is not coldness. It is emotional efficiency. The mind learned early. Feeling something does not change anything. Handling it does. Machiavelli understood the value of withholding. He wrote that a ruler should reveal little and observe much. But he also understood that total isolation makes you fragile. If no one knows your struggles, no one can support you. If you never ask for help, you train people to assume you do not need it. And over time, you become so good at appearing fine that even you start to believe it, until the weight becomes unbearable and you do not know how to ask for help because you have no language for it. You trained yourself out of a vulnerability so thoroughly that it feels like weakness now. Picture this. You are struggling. Maybe financially, maybe emotionally, maybe both. A friend asks how you are. You say fine, they believe you. Not because they are careless, but because you are convincing. You have been performing competence for so long that it is automatic. Later, when things fall apart, people are shocked. They say, "Why did you not tell me?" And you do not have an answer. Because telling them would have required vulnerability, and vulnerability once felt dangerous. So you stayed quiet, and the isolation deepened. Now picture the alternative. Same scenario, same struggle, same friend asks. This time you pause. You choose one small truth. You say, "I am managing, but it has been harder than I expected." That is all. No breakdown, no oversharing, just honesty. Watch what happens. Most people will respond. They will offer something. Even if you do not take the help, the act of revealing breaks the armor slightly, and your nervous system gets new data. I can express need without disaster. Machiavelli knew that appearing invincible makes you a target, appearing human makes you relatable. You are not trying to collapse. You are trying to stop performing invincibility at all times. Start practicing small truths in safe places. It will feel unnatural. That is proof it is working. Number 3, the performance of self. The third framework is the loss of authentic identity. When a child is unprotected, love feels conditional. It feels earned through usefulness, through compliance, through being easy to manage. You learned early that being low maintenance kept the peace, so you became adaptable. Different versions of yourself in different rooms, not because you were fake, but because authenticity once came with consequences. You learned to read what people wanted and deliver it. Machiavelli called this knowing how to be a fox and a lion. The fox adapts. The lion dominates. You learned the fox part too young. And now you do not know which version of you is real. This is what conditional love creates. You grow up asking, am I allowed to take up space? Am I allowed to be upset? Am I too much? Even when no one is asking you shrink anyway. Because the program runs automatically. You enter a new relationship, a new job, a new social circle, and immediately start adjusting. You notice what gets rewarded. You notice what gets ignored, and you optimize yourself to fit. This makes you likable. It makes you easy to be around, but it also makes you exhausted because you are constantly translating yourself into what others can accept. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn to adapt his nature to the times, but he also warned that a man who is always good will be destroyed among so many who are not good. The same applies here. If you are always adapting, always adjusting, always making yourself smaller or easier, you lose the core. And without a core, you become reactive instead of directive. You let others define you because you never had the space to define yourself. This is not about becoming rigid. It is about knowing what does not change about you, no matter who is watching. Here is the recalibration. Start noticing when you code switch, when you enter a room and immediately adjust your tone, your energy, your opinions to match the environment. Name it. Then, what would I say if I were not adapting? What would I do if I were not performing? You do not have to act on it immediately. Just notice the gap. Over time, you will find small moments where you can stay closer to your actual response instead of your adapted response. Machiavelli said the wise man should always follow the paths trodden by great men. But first, you have to know your own path, and you cannot know it if you have been walking everyone else's for years. Start mapping what belongs to you. The rest is strategy, not identity. Number 4, authority and the perfectionism trap. The fourth framework is how you relate to authority and mistakes. For a protected child, failure is an experience. For an unprotected child, failure feels like exposure. It does not just mean something went wrong. It feels like something dangerous could follow. So mistakes become heavy. You develop a quiet inner pressure to be competent at all times. Not because of ego, but because the nervous system associates errors with risk. This often turns into perfectionism. Not the loud, obvious kind, but the kind that lives inside your head. You replay conversations. You second-guess decisions. You analyze tone, timing, and response. Your mind is still scanning for safety cues, even when there is no threat. Machiavelli understood the relationship between perception and survival. He wrote that men judge more by their eyes than by their hands, meaning people react to what they see, not to what is real. If you appear perfect, they trust you. If you show weakness, they question you. So you learn to hide imperfection. You learn to over-prepare, to stay ahead of problems, to never need correction. This works in the short term. It earns you respect, but it also traps you. Because perfectionism is not excellence. It is fear dressed up as standards, and it burns you out from the inside. Here is what this looks like in real time. You send an email, then you reread it 5 times. You notice a small phrasing mistake. Your stomach drops, not because the mistake matters objectively, but because your nervous system flags it as dangerous. You imagine someone judging you. You imagine losing credibility. You imagine consequences that will never happen. Meanwhile, the person who received the email did not even notice. They read it, got the information, moved on. But you are still thinking about it hours later. This is the cost of unprotected childhood. The mind never learned that small mistakes do not equal disaster. Machiavelli also said that a ruler who is too careful will be ruined, because the world does not wait for perfection. The same is true for you. If you wait until everything is flawless, you will miss opportunities. If you hide every flaw, you will exhaust yourself. The shift is not about lowering standards. It is about separating real consequences from imagined ones. Start practicing small, deliberate imperfections. Send an email without rereading it 10 times. Leave a typo in a casual message. Miss a deadline by a few hours without apologizing excessively. Watch what happens. Most of the time, nothing happens, and your nervous system gets new data. Mistakes do not destroy me. This does not make you careless. It makes you human. And humans who accept imperfection move faster than humans paralyzed by perfectionism. Number 5. The loneliness of self-reliance. The 5th framework is intimacy and the fear of being unguarded. True intimacy requires softness. It requires letting someone see you without preparation, without performance, without control. For someone who was never protected, this feels foreign. You may crave closeness deeply, but when someone gets too close, something inside you resists. You want support, but accepting it feels like owing a debt. You long to be understood, but you hide the parts of yourself that feel vulnerable, because vulnerability once came without protection, and the body remembers. This creates a push and pull dynamic in relationships. Connection feels healing. Dependence feels unsafe. So you oscillate between closeness and distance, often without understanding why. Machiavelli wrote about the danger of relying on others. He said that a prince should never depend on fortune or on other men's arms. He must rely on his own strength. But Machiavelli was writing about war and politics, not about love. The problem is you applied war strategy to relationships. You kept everyone at a strategic distance. You gave easily. You listened deeply. But when the roles reversed, when someone tried to care for you, you deflected, you minimized, you said you were fine. Not because you did not want care, but because receiving it required surrender. And surrender once felt unsafe. Here is what this looks like. You are in a relationship. Your partner notices you are struggling. They offer to take something off your plate. You refuse. They push gently. You insist you can handle it. They back off, confused. Later, you feel alone. But you created the distance, not out of cruelty, out of instinct. Your nervous system learned that being cared for comes with conditions. Or worse, it disappears when you need it most. So you stopped expecting it. You built self-reliance so strong that it became isolation. And now, even when care is available, you cannot accept it without feeling weak. Machiavelli also understood that isolation makes you fragile. A prince without allies is a prince waiting to fall. The same applies to you. If you never let anyone in, if you never accept support, you are running on your own resources alone, and eventually you will run out. The recalibration here is the hardest one. You have to practice receiving without performing strength. Start small. Let someone buy you coffee without insisting you will pay next time. Let someone give you advice without immediately proving you already knew it. Let someone worry about you without reassuring them instantly. It will feel uncomfortable. You will want to restore balance immediately. Do not sit in the discomfort. Your nervous system is learning that care does not always come with cost. This is not weakness. This is updating old code that no longer serves you. You are starting to see the pattern now. The child who was never protected became an adult who does not wait for safety. You create it, you manage it, you enforce it. And in doing so, you built a life where you are always the container and never the contained. This is not a flaw. It is a survival strategy that worked, but it is also a strategy that cost you connection, rest, and peace. Machiavelli would recognize you immediately. You operate like a ruler in exile, always alert, always prepared, always alone. And he would also tell you this: a ruler who cannot rest will not last. The old self operated from one belief: no one is coming. That belief made you strong. It also made you rigid. You learned to anticipate problems before they existed. You learned to process emotions privately. You learned to adapt to any environment. You learned to avoid mistakes obsessively. You learned to stay self-reliant at all costs. These are not weaknesses. They are skills. But skills applied without discernment become traps. You do not need to be this alert in a safe room. You do not need to be this armored with people who have earned your trust. You do not need to be this perfect when small mistakes carry no real cost. The system that saved you as a child is now suffocating you as an adult. The new self understands that people respond to incentives, not intentions. That safety can be tested before it is trusted. That vulnerability is not weakness when applied strategically. That rest is not laziness when your nervous system needs recalibration. That mistakes are feedback, not disasters. The new self knows when to be visibly strong and when to be quietly honest, when to give and when to receive, when to prepare and when to let go. This is not about becoming soft. It is about becoming flexible. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must know how to use both the beast and the man. The beast fights. The man negotiates. You have been the beast for too long. It is time to remember the man. This transformation does not happen overnight. It happens in small, repeated decisions. The decision to name hypervigilance instead of obeying it. The decision to share one small truth instead of performing strength. The decision to let a mistake exist without spiraling. The decision to accept help without immediately repaying it. Each decision sends new data to your nervous system. And slowly, the system updates. It learns that danger is not constant, that people can be steady, that rest does not lead to chaos, that you can exhale without everything falling apart. Machiavelli believed that fortune favors the prepared. You have been prepared your entire life. Now you are learning that preparation without rest is just slow destruction. The goal is not to dismantle the fortress. It is to learn when to lower the drawbridge. If you only listen to this and change nothing, it becomes entertainment. And entertainment does not shift power. Action does. So here is what you are going to do in the next 24 hours. You are going to choose at least one of these and execute it without negotiation. First option: the next time you catch yourself scanning a room or a conversation for danger that is not there, stop. Name it out loud or in your head. Say, "I am scanning. I do not need to do this right now." Then deliberately soften your attention. Let yourself be in the moment without managing it. It will feel wrong. Do it anyway. Second option: the next time someone offers to help you with something, accept it. Do not deflect, do not minimize, do not insist you can handle it alone. Just say thank you and let them do it. Do not repay them immediately. Do not perform gratitude excessively. Just receive. Your nervous system needs proof that accepting help does not create disaster. Third option, send one message or have one conversation where you share a small struggle. Not a breakdown, not a confession, just honesty. Something like, "This has been harder than I expected," or "I have been carrying more than usual lately." Do not soften it with humor. Do not follow it with reassurance that you are fine. Just let the truth sit there. Watch what happens. Fourth option, make one decision today based on what you actually want, not on what keeps the peace or makes you easy to manage. It can be small, saying no to a request, choosing a different plan, stating a preference instead of deferring to others. The point is to practice operating from your core instead of from adaptation. Fifth option, let one small mistake exist today without fixing it, apologizing for it, or replaying it in your head. A typo, a missed detail, a slightly awkward phrase. Let it be imperfect. Let it be done. Let it teach your nervous system that small errors do not equal danger. You do not need to do all 5. Pick one. Execute it. Report back to yourself how it felt. And if it felt uncomfortable, that is proof you are updating the system. Machiavelli said that the one who adapts his approach to the times will succeed. You adapted to survive childhood. Now you are adapting to live as an adult. The war is over. You are allowed to put the armor down. Not forever. Just long enough to breathe. If you want more modern problems dissected through Machiavelli's eyes, subscribe and stay alert. The next breakdown is already being written.